All right, in this video, we're going to talk about playing deviations a little bit. But before we get to that, I want to tell you kind of a common comment that I get down below in some of these videos, as well as maybe on my Instagram. And that is, if I know perfect basic strategy, someone might ask me, how come I'm not winning? And so maybe they have my perfect basic strategy set of flashcards. You know, they bought that. They know all the correct decisions. They know when to hit, when to double down, and so on. But they go to the casino, they know the correct decisions, they're playing the right decisions, but they're still not winning. And they've maybe been doing this for a while. And the reason that they're not winning is because perfect basic strategy alone doesn't make you a successful card counter. In fact, it doesn't make you a card counter at all. You haven't done any of the counting yet if you just know the correct decision to make when you're playing just you versus the dealer. You're not keeping track of the count. And so because of that, you have to take perfect basic strategy and kind of couple it along with card counting, all right? Knowing the running count, as well as dividing by the number of decks left to get the true count. Along with those two things, along with perfect playing deviations and perfect betting deviations, right? You can't just always bet one chip every single time, win or lose, bet another chip every single time. You have to vary your bet. And so with those kind of things in mind, that is what will make you a successful card counter over the long run. Now, some nights might be good, some nights might be bad. You might win and lose, but over the long run, you will become a winning card counter. So that said, I'm going to put my perfect basic strategy cards off to the side, and I'm going to show you a new deck of cards. These are going to be my deviation set of flashcards. And these are going to be available to purchase this Wednesday, which is January 17th, 2024. If you are watching this before then, you have to wait a little bit. Otherwise, if you're watching after, they will be available now. And I'll put a link down below as to how you can find that when it's ready. But playing deviations are going to be when the count is either higher or lower than a certain true count, you're going to deviate or make a decision that other than what your maybe perfect basic strategy card told you to do. Okay, so that might not be the best example, but here, let's see. This one I think has one. This says a soft 15 versus a dealer's 4. Using this, the perfect basic strategy cards is normally a double down, okay? Now, you might deviate from that at some point. If the count gets low enough in that case, you might just hit it instead. All right, now there are 3 of these deviations that give you kind of the biggest bang for your buck, you might say. So I'm gonna go over those 3 here, and then the others, right, there's 63 of these cards that I have. The other ones, you will have to become a member of my Patreon if you want to maybe see what those are, or you know, I might show one here or there in my different videos. But the 3 that will give you the biggest bang for your buck are this one to start with. Now, it's not just a 12 versus an ace, it's anytime the dealer is showing an ace. Anytime the dealer is showing an ace, you have the opportunity to play insurance. Okay? Insurance is actually a side bet. So your hand doesn't matter at all what you have. You are betting whether the dealer has blackjack. And you would take that bet, you would take insurance at a true count of +3 or higher. Okay? So if I flip this over, the way that you would read this is, it says you would normally not take insurance. So it says don't take, but you are going to take insurance at a true count of 3 or higher. In fact, that's exactly what this little explanation says down here. It says, normally don't take insurance, take it at a true count, TC, of 3 or higher. And then down below it also has, otherwise you would just hit a 12 versus an ace if the dealer doesn't have insurance and you're allowed to play out your hand. So that's gonna be what the front and back of these plain deviation flashcards look like. Okay, let's try 2 more. So this one, along with a 16 versus a 10. Now, a 16 versus a 10 right away is going to be a surrender if that's an option to you. Okay, if you remember my kind of order of operations of blackjack decisions, you might say, I have a video about that. The first is if you can surrender, you want to do so. So if that's a possibility, you would need to surrender this hand. However, if surrender is not an option at your particular table, then a 16 versus a 10 using perfect basic strategy, like the blue flashcards over here, this would be a hit, okay? Now, at any positive running count, you are going to deviate and you are going to stand on a 16 versus a 10. So if I flip this card over, it says on the back that this is normally a hit, right? If surrender is not available, normally a hit, but you're going to stand. This says at 0 plus. What that means, down below it says stand at any positive running count. All right, so that's kind of a big one, because whether the count is positive, you're going to do something, or if it's 0 or negative, you're going to do something else. Well, as soon as the first card is played, now the count's positive, right? This was a 2. So then you would stand if you were to get a 16 versus a 10 in that case. All right, that is the second one. The third one that is going to be kind of the most important of those first three is going to be a 15 versus a 10. It's very similar. This was a 16 versus a 10. This is a 15 versus a 10. This is another hand where you should surrender right away if possible, just like the last one. But if that's not an option, this is, again, is normally a hit, but you're going to stand at a true count of +4 or higher. So again, on the back side, it says here, this is normally a hit if surrender is not available, and you're going to stand at a true count of +4 or higher. These three decisions alone, so if the dealer has an ace, a 16 versus a 10, and a 15 versus a 10, are going to be worth, if I knew all the deviations that were possible, this is going to be worth about 60% of the profits that you would make by using deviations. Okay, so that's quite a bit. The rest of those would only add an additional 40% onto those winnings that you might have if you were to use deviations along with perfect basic strategy and perfect card counting. So it is very, very, very important. 3 varies there, because it's so important that you know those 3 specifically. And then if you can add in a few others as well, you will gain about 25% more of your profits at the blackjack table over your blackjack career, as opposed to not using these, okay? Now, a couple things more about the deck here before I let you go, and that is that this is called the Illustrious 18 and Fab 4 deck. If you remember my last one, on the bottom it just said this is the basic strategy deck. And so these are all basic strategy decisions. Here, Illustrious 18, those are the 18 most common playing deviations, along with Fab 4. These are the 4 most common times that you would need to surrender, as opposed to playing the normal decision there. In fact, this one kind of doubles as both. All right, this is the only one that kind of has 2 of those decisions. It says Fab 4 at the bottom. That's how I've distinguished it. And there are some of these others that have, you know, their only thing is to surrender. Down here it says that's also a Fab 4 card. But if it is a fabulous 4 card, then this one down here says surrender a 15 versus a 10, like we talked about, but only if it's available at a +0 or higher. Okay, so that's one of those situations where surrender even becomes a decision based off of the true count. So anyway, if you found these helpful, and if you kind of get how to read it, like the top is the decision you should normally do, the middle is the decision that is the deviation, and you would like to purchase a set of these deviation flashcards to kind of go along with, hopefully, the basic strategy cards you already have, then again, these are going to be available at the link below starting on Wednesday, January 17th. If it's already past then there should be a link down there. You can go buy these right away. All right, so hopefully you guys like that. If you do, please give me a thumbs up before you get out of here today. And until next time, this is A1 Blackjack.